Hi guys, it's Jeff here, the Photographer's Mentor, and I just thought I'd do a quick live for you before the weekend with some ideas or some concepts to get you thinking and get you hopefully creating a premium brand niche photography business. So a lot of people struggle with the idea of niching, and this is something I've talked about a lot in my past videos, that we can't be the photographer for everyone and we can't sell the product for everyone, because you can't sell a product that's cheap and expensive. You can't appeal to people who are on a budget and people who want the very best. There's two different elements there. So what you've got to do is decide who your market is and what services you're going to sell to these people. And that's what we mean when we talk about niching. So what you're doing is you're niching, you're defining a particular service, and then you're aiming at a particular type of person. Now, one of the biggest things photographers struggle with is the sales aspect and getting a higher price for the products and services that they offer. And quite often, this is because the people who they're doing business with, first of all, the photographer is trying to sell the product, not the emotional or the solution-based aspect of what he sells. And I'll go into this deeper in a few minutes. Or they've sent out the wrong message from the very, very beginning that has determined that person's expectations on your business. So I'll give you an example. So I always try to brand myself up quite premium, quite professional. I have lots of brochures telling people about the 6 Steps to Success program that I run. The website explains all the benefits. It's all benefit related, how it's going to benefit the photographer. So I don't sell the marketing aspect. What I sell is building a premium brand and making a lot more money if you're a photographer, because that is what my clients use as photographers really want. You don't want marketing, because marketing isn't very interesting to you, but making money is, and building a premium brand is. So from the minute I have a touch point with a photographer and the photographer starts to talk to me, they look at the website, they look at the stuff that I do, the brand that I put out, or they read my brochure, they have a pre-expectation. And I was speaking to a guy today, and he'd gone through the brochure and we got onto the subject of pricing and obviously how much he thought the program was. And he was surprised when he found out the program was what it was. The program's £1,500. He'd expected it to be more about £4,000 or £5,000. And that was because of my brand, because from the minute I got in contact with him, it was a very, very sort of professional feed. So, you know, you got a professional brochure, you went to a website, it was laid out a particular way. I set out my stall right from the very beginning. And if you want to attract clients who are going to pay you the money that you want, and you want to be valued, so you don't want people looking at, trying to do business with you and buying on price alone, you've got to set your stall out from the very beginning. And this comes in every single form you do, so everything to do with your business. And if you think about it, you know, when you go out, like say for instance, you go to a restaurant, from the minute you walk in that restaurant, you will be starting to make judgments before you've even sat down to have something to eat. And how many of you have done this before? You've walked into a restaurant, you've got in there, the waitress is maybe serving somebody else, and you start to notice things. Oh, the tables aren't too tidy. I don't really like the way the staff are dressed. The carpet looks a little bit dirty. Before somebody's come over and ushered you to the seat, you've said to the other half, should we go somewhere else? Because you've made a preconception. The food might have been absolutely amazing, but you've already in your mind made a judgment about that and moved on. Now, if the judgment was complete, if you went in there, oh, this looks nice, this looks very posh, it looks totally clean, you have an expectation. And that expectation can only change if the food's terrible and the service is terrible. Or if the service is terrible and the food is fantastic, you'll probably still not enjoy the food because the service was very poor. So in your photography business, it's not just about selling the photos. It's about creating this brand, and this premium brand directed at who your ideal clients are. So if you want to be attracting your ideal clients who are going to pay a premium, then from the minute you're interacting with people, you've got to look professional, you've got to look premium, you've got to look high-end. And that comes down to the brochures, your logo, the wording that you use on your website. You've got to use premium wording. You can't just say, we sell some beautiful wall art. We sell some gorgeous albums. You sell beautiful, handmade, leather-bound, bespoke wedding albums. You don't just sell a wedding album. Remember that it's words that create people's desire to make that purchase. Now, if people come to your website and they get that feel of expense or premium, they're going to have a set level, and that level will judge whether they're going to possibly go further and make that connection with you to do business. If they come to your website and it looks cheap, then they're going to expect your prices to be cheap. So they've dropped their level down. So when you come to them and say, even if it's not that expensive, it's X amount of pounds or it's X amount of dollars, you've already gone above what they'd preconceived. So this is where you get that conflict over price. If the expectation is higher, and then you come in with a slightly less price, like that gentleman who I spoke to this morning, who thought my services would be, £3,000 or £4,000, and I come in with a cheaper price, then he was surprised because he felt that it had a lot more value than that. And so what you want to be doing is you want to be giving people a lot of value so they feel they're attracted to it. It's not just a purchase on price. So when it comes down to brand, when it comes down to building your premium brand, remember, it's not just a logo. Your brand is everything your ideal client thinks, feels, and believes about your business. And quite often, before they've even spoke to you, before they've even picked up the phone, before they've even sent you a message on Facebook, you will, and do this with other businesses. Try it out. Have a look at other photographers and see what, when you arrive on their website, as a consumer, not looking at the imagery, at their brand, what you get from that. Do you feel that the premium? Do you feel at the high end? So one thing I always say to people is try to forget selling the photography and sell the why. Now, a why is why you do something. And when you and there's an old saying that goes that if you can help people get what they want, you will get what you want in return. So look at it from my business point of view, right? Obviously, I want to make money as a photographer's mentor. I'm running quite a successful sort of worldwide marketing business for photographers. But how do I get that money? I get that money by helping photographers get what they want, which is success, more money, and to build a premium brand. And quite often I do a lot of stuff like this for free, because when I'm putting myself out there and I'm building this up, I'm helping other people get what they want. And in return, they see the value in me, and then they come and say, Jeff, if this is what you give us for free, how much more could I have if I work with you? So it's a much easier sell. Now, if you look at that from, I'll give you a good example. And I was actually talking to a client about this last night. When we had the boudoir business, Simply You Makeovers, and we did over 4,000 boudoir makeovers. When we first started off, we were trying to sell the images. We're trying to sell photographs of women in underwear to women who necessarily didn't want photographs of themselves in underwear. But when we changed the concept and the whole idea of the brand, we made it very, very expensive looking. We made it very sort of sophisticated and elegant. But the big why wasn't selling the photos. The big why was selling how that woman felt. The big why was saying to women, we will make you look and feel $1 million. We will make you feel sexy again. You've had 2 children. You don't feel very feminine. You feel like a mother. You get in and you put your jogging bottoms on and your old t-shirt. You want to feel sexy. You want to feel beautiful. You want to be proud of yourself. So that's what we sold. We didn't sell the boudoir. We sold how that woman's going to feel. And when we got that brand based around the why, the client's why, the customer's why, then the magic happened. That's when the phone started to ring and the website started to get the bookings in. So let's turn that around to think about another potential photographer's trade. So if you're like a hotel photographer or a food photographer, you're not just trying to sell images. What you're trying to do is help the restaurant or the hotel get across to their ideal clients, to their people, how utterly amazing their food is. They want to be able to virtually smell and taste that food from their social media news feeds. What you're giving to that restaurant is a full restaurant every night of the week. People are clamoring to book this restaurant. And the more booked up the restaurant becomes and the harder it gets to get into that restaurant, the more people want to go there. People don't always want what everybody else has. People want what's hard to get hold of. That's how places like Apple and stuff severely restrict when something comes out, or that's why you have people queuing up days in advance to purchase something that's really new or that everybody else wants, because when you restrict something, it becomes more desirable. So what you want to do, for these restaurants is you want to create that desire. You creating that desire for people to come to their restaurant and eat the food. You're not selling images. You're selling full restaurants. You're selling bums on seats. You're selling more money in the till. You're selling really high engagement on their social media news feeds. You're selling women tagging in their boyfriends and tagging all their friends at work because they've seen a picture of steak and chips that looks absolutely amazing. So what you need to do to get your brand right is, first of all, to look premium and to think about what look that is that your ideal client wants. And remember, a look that I portray on mine looks very professional, very corporate from my mentoring business. But if you are a wedding photographer, you probably want to have a more feminine look, because your ideal client is more than likely going to be a woman. Because I've done over 750 weddings myself, and there's very few, apart from when there's two men getting married, there's very few men have actually contacted me in the 15, 16 years that I've been doing wedding photography to say, Jeff, can you give us a price for our wedding? The blokes don't bother with it. It's a woman thing. The women like to get involved and plan the wedding photography. So our brand was very focused on the women. So it had a feminine sort of touch to it, but it also had the wording appeal to women. It also had that expensive look to it. So created a price set in their mind before they'd even got in contact with us. And the good thing about that is it eliminated the people who were cheap, because the people who were cheap, who we didn't want, because we didn't want to do cheap weddings. So the people who were cheap would maybe look at the website and go, oh, that looks a bit too expensive, and come off, because they'd formed a judgment in their mind. So what you're doing is you by creating a particular niche or a particular brand, you were appealing to a certain set of people, and you're maybe eliminating a set of people that you don't want. And I don't care what people say, quite often when the people who pay more money, the more expensive the clients, usually the more grateful they are, the more they appreciate your services, and the better they are to work with. When you get somebody who's buying just on price alone, you tend to find those are usually the people who will have the most problems, the most issues. They won't appreciate you because they're not buying for you. They're buying for how much it costs, and they want everything for next to nothing. So if you want to eliminate that, you need to build a brand that looks premium, a brand that looks niche, so it's focused on the ideal clients you want to work with. And finally, you want to sell the why you do it. What is in it for them? How are you going to change their life? How are you going to be a solution to their needs? And how are you going to sell the benefits to them as opposed to the imagery? Now, I've put together a little guide on branding and creating a premium brand. So if this is something you want, just pop in the comment section below. Jeff, can you send me your PDF on branding? And I'll send you a PDF guide out tomorrow and a little bit of information about it. If you want any further advice, or you're interested in the 6 Steps to Success program, drop me a message. I'll send you a brochure on that as well. I don't do sales calls. That's not the way I work. And I'll be going live again next week. And next week, we'll be going a little bit deeper into it and talking about USP. And USP is your unique selling point. What makes you different than everybody else? And one thing you don't want as a USP is first-class service and high-quality imagery. And the reason you don't want first-class service and high-quality imagery is because every other photographer says they do that. That is not very unique. You need to think outside the box and give your clients something that they really need, something that helps solve their problem and alleviate their fears. And we'll talk about this in more detail next week when I do my live next week. So hopefully it's give you something to think about over the weekend. If you are struggling, if you're a bit lost and you want a bit of advice, drop us a message. Say, Jeff, what would my brand be? What would be my why? I'm a headshot photographer. Can you give us a bit of advice? I'm a bit stuck, because I know this is something that's hard to get your head around at first, and you need to sort of understand, and you stop thinking as a photographer and think as your client. Get yourself in your client's shoes and say, what do I want? What do I need? And if you're struggling with it, like I said, drop me a message and I'll be only too happy to help. I can leave you a little voice clip or leave you a little video on LinkedIn and answer the question for you. Just one more thing, if you haven't already started following it, my hashtag creating successful photographers, as you can see on the screen there below, if you put that into the search bar and then bring that hashtag up and just press follow, it just means every time I go live or every time I do a post, you're going to get some great content for me, and it just means you can keep track of this these series of videos and stuff that I'm doing, because it's all about building a premium brand, making more money, getting yourself out there on LinkedIn, improving your website, getting your pricing sorted, cracking your Facebook, and ultimately making a lot more money in photography. So have a great weekend, guys, and look forward to seeing you in the next live. Take care. Thank you.